As mayor, I call this meeting of Staunton City Council to order. I note that this meeting is being broadcast over the city's cable channel and streamlined on the city's website so that members of the public may hear our meeting. The meeting is also being recorded. I ask the clerk of council to call the roll for confirmation of those council members present for today's meeting.
Mayor Oakes,
Here.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Here.
Mr. Holmes,
Here.
Miss Stoll,
Here.
Miss Mead,
Here.
Mr. Claffey,
Here.
Miss Darby. Here. I have confirmed that all council members are present.
All right, thank you. I ask that City Manager Steve Rosenberg note the participation of any city officials or colleagues or anyone else during today's meeting by Zoom or telephone.
Madam Mayor, during the work session, we have 5 participants on the Zoom platform. They include council members Brenda Mead and Carolyn Dole, interim city attorney Andrew McRoberts, and at a later point, I think in the work session, Jen Serber and CJ Tyree concerning the Middlebrook Trace development.
All right, thank you. Please let me mention that notice reasonable under the circumstances of this meeting has been given to the public contemporaneously with the notice provided to members of City Council. In addition to limited public seating in City Hall, access to this meeting has been provided to the public by audio feed on the city's cable channel and the city's website. During this work session, as in the past, there will be no opportunity for public comment. Public comment will be received during council's regular meeting, which will begin at 7:30 p.m. Instructions for public comment by telephone can be found on agenda for the regular meeting and on council's website at www.ci.stanton.va.us/government/city council. Also, let me highlight and have reflected in the meeting minutes that this meeting, although being conducted in person, is also being conducted by Zoom with virtual participation by certain members of City Council, given the catastrophic nature of the declared emergency and disaster related to the COVID-19 outbreak, which is part of the total circumstances makes it impractical or unsafe to assemble in a single location. The meeting is being held consistent with the City Council Ordinance 2020-04 regarding continuity of government, a copy of which can be found online at www.stanton.va.us/COGORD 2020-04 as extended by City Council Ordinance number 2021-06. All right, with that said, I would just like to remind everybody that comes into City Hall and in the chambers, if you can wear your mask at all times, we would appreciate it. That includes if you have to exit to use the restrooms. And as the city council members, if you'll recognize the mayor will recognize you in order to speak. All right. With that, the first item on the agenda is a consideration of work session and regular meeting agendas. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I move to approve the work session agenda and the regular meeting agenda as presented.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Councilmember Holmes is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Mayor Oakes,
Aye.
Miss Mead,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Miss Stoll,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Miss Darby. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the tourism update. Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Cheryl Wagner, our Director of Tourism, is joining us this evening to provide to council and the public an update concerning the efforts of the Tourism Department over the course of the last year.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You'll be able to see on the screen here.
Can everybody else see okay?
They've got these screens as
That's
well.
right. I forgot about our TVs. We're very fancy here.
This is pretty for the big old eyes.
All right.
Madam
Thank you.
Mayor, members of council, thank you so much for having me this evening to talk about a 2020 tourism update. First of all, I want to show you a few articles. The 8 occupations hit hardest by the pandemic are leisure and hospitality. That's from AARP. This is from Forbes. COVID-19 is crushing businesses, 3 sectors with the most casualties. And I know you've all seen this. In-person events and entertainment, tourism and travel, restaurants and bars. So that's what we've been dealing with over this past year. And what our local tourism industry is saying and how they have been dealing with that. Woodrow Wilson Presidential Library, their visitation was down 80% in 2020. But they've had tremendous growth in their virtual programs, and they have received grant funds and CARES Act funding. The Frontier Culture Museum, their visitation was down 50%. I think they did a little bit better than others because it's an outdoor museum. But their field trips are down 95%, which makes sense since kids weren't in school. But their virtual field trips have expanded their audience from just Virginia. They're primarily their field trips came from Virginia, a few from North Carolina, but mostly Virginia. But now they are servicing the entire US through their virtual programs. It's made everyone think about things a little bit different. They told us this morning, we had our tourism advisory board meeting, which Councilman Holmes was involved with. Thank you so much. That they will not be having any of their large events or festivals in 2021. They don't feel safe doing that. They're going to do their roots music and a few lecture series, but not large events. The American Shakespeare Center, they completed 60 performances for thousands of patrons in summer 2020. Hopefully, maybe you got to see a few at the Blackburn Inn. And they are opening back up for live performances on May 13th. Heifetz in 2020, they also went virtual, but they had 317 performances, which typically they have 50 performances. So, and their YouTube and Facebook garnered 470,000 views. So a lot more people are seeing it, and what we're hoping, more people seeing it, they're gonna come when they open back up and have their performances locally. Queen City Mischief and Magic, and Happy Birthday America. They were virtual this year. Queen City Mischief and Magic, they called it the year that shall not be named, which I think all of us in tourism have said that. Our hotels in 2020 lost 11.5 million in revenue. Our independent restaurants, their revenue was down 40 to 50%. But Dine Out in Downtown saved many from closing permanently. So thanks to all of you. So we get this report monthly. This is called the Smith Travel Report. And so this is hotel occupancy. ADR means average daily rate, and revenue is how much revenue hotels have received. So what you can see here, when the pandemic hit, our occupancy started to go down, and then in April it plummeted. But then things started to get a little bit better, and we got our second wave in July, and they got worse. And then they started to get better, and we had our third wave in the end of October and November. And again, it got worse. So our data tracks with the pandemic. And I just wanted to point out here that hotel revenue was down almost 43%. Now, if you look at our local meals and lodging tax, ours was 43.5%. So that is shows you exactly what happened with the in the Smith Travel Research Report. But meals tax was only down 12.9, where most of our independent restaurants are down 40 to 50%. We think the reason for this is everybody felt comfortable going fast food. So our fast food businesses did prosper. So I wanted to talk a little about the marketing that we've done, and some of this is redundant. I know I was here last March and you'll recognize a lot of it. So we started out in March in the spring with a buy local, give local, remember local campaign. And we didn't have, our funds were frozen, but we were able to do some local advertising on social media. So this was one of our ads about, spend your money at one of our local businesses. This was about give to your arts organizations. We wrote blog posts about how to show your local love. And Remember Local was about our historic sites and our museums. And if you're not signed up for Staunton on Top, our weekly e-newsletter, then you should be. But we repeated all of our same messaging with buy local and give local. So that was for the spring. And then come May, we did this video in-house. And I hope you've seen it, but I wanted to show it to you. So yeah, we were telling folks, we're not ready for you yet, but we're waiting for you. We have to keep our name out there. So what we realized, and this was in April, May, that there was a financial strain on all of our small businesses. So our city manager created a business recovery and outreach team. The executive orders eased on restrictions on outdoor dining, and our stakeholders, we had stakeholders meetings after stakeholders meetings, and they said, we don't want to do another survey. We want you to be bold, we want you to be creative, and we want you to close Beverly. So that's what we did. And we did dine out in downtown. We had 12 food and beverage businesses and several retailers, and it launched on June 5th. We provided logistics for them of where curbside pickup would be, what streets would be closed, where free parking was. And we also showed them where their space could be on Beverly Street. And then we had a new public works director come on board in September, and he made the bold decision of, why don't we get bollards? And that has made a huge difference. And so I want to thank Jeff Johnston. So in this, in the fall, we created a family campaign. So what we discovered was, all the kids are doing school on Zoom, but they could come to the Frontier Culture Museum. They could go to Woodrow Wilson Presidential Library. There's so much education here. So we started a family campaign that said, less screen time, more play time, and visit Staunton. And this was our most successful campaign of the entire year. So that was our advertising. This is our landing page. And what we did was we just kind of spelled out, hit the road at this time. What we found is if we give people an itinerary and tell them exactly what to do, then they like that. So explore downtown, and then it was have a great breakfast and go hiking and visit our attractions. And then we received, this was our second most popular campaign. We received a grant from Virginia Tourism Corporation to produce a video, and it was called Wonder Love. And what it's all about is road trips in Virginia. So let me. And what we're trying to do is just provide inspiration. We also use some CARES Act funding to produce our visitor's guide. I've given you each one. We had a few printed, but it was really important for us to have a digital guide, which I think Mr. Rosenberg sent to you by email earlier, but these came out last week. They're printed. We have 10,000 of them, which is not our normal print run, but it's beautiful. I think it really showcases the town. We also reopened our visitor center. So we have all of the brochures are behind the desk. So our staff helps folks without them touching everything. And then of course the shield there. We offer masks and hand sanitizer. We also used CARES Act funding for an outdoor kiosk for those folks that aren't comfortable going into the visitor center. So you'll find this on the outside of the visitor center, and it just has a place for a bunch of our brochures. So looking forward to spring and summer, we have preliminary plans for a shop and dine out in downtown and beyond. We're looking at weekends, April through October. We're working on new messaging. So to make sure we include shop, not just dine out downtown. And we want to engage more businesses that are not on Beverly Street. And include those because there's so many people that have outdoor areas that aren't just on Beverly. And also this spring, we're going to do another campaign about the family campaign, less screen time, more playtime. And we received a grant to do that. And it's so strange. You know, I've been doing this for 25 years. And well, a FAM is a familiarization tour. And that's where you invite people from that own group tour companies, or they're from the media, and you invite them to come and tour your town. Well, they're not leaving their house right now, so we're doing virtual FAMs. So we've been working on those for the past several weeks, and we're doing a media FAM that's going to be a Canada, UK, Germany, and France. So although borders aren't open right now, but they are interested in the Shenandoah Valley. So that's what we have coming up right now. Do you have any questions for me?
Right. Any questions or comments?
Mayor Oaks, this is Brenda Mead.
Councilmember Mead?
Yeah, Cheryl, can you tell me the Smith report, I think you called it, with hotel occupancy information? How does Staunton compare to other localities that are along major interstates in terms of our hotel numbers?
We're on par with the other areas around. We're actually doing a little bit better. I think people feel more comfortable coming to a small town. We're doing better than Harrisonburg or Winchester. But you know, our occupancy for the year was still down 35%. But I'll tell you what, you know, we have monthly meetings. Our tourism advisory board meetings are amazing, what the collaboration that goes on there. A lot of folks are really interested in Airbnb right now. They feel very comfortable in an Airbnb rather than a hotel. We're hoping that will change. We're hoping that, you know, business travel will come back as well. I think it was Bill Gates that said business travel will now be 50% of what it was because of what we've been going through for the past year. Well, we want people to come here to meet and to congregate. I think it's going to be more of a, we're going to have to engage social organizations, fraternal organizations, reunions to fill up our 2 conference centers that we have here now.
Just to follow up with you on that question that I had, is the Smith report just traditional hotel occupancy, or does it include any of our we do get revenue from BB&T or no, B&B, excuse me, occupancy, don't we?
Yes.
And are you seeing an increase in that?
So we do get some hotel occupancy from lodging tax from some of our Airbnbs, but you have to have more than, I think it's 3 rooms. So someone like Gibson's Warehouse that Jeff Ramsey owns on Middlebrook, they pay occupancy tax. But if you just have 1 Airbnb, you don't have to pay an occupancy tax.
Got it. Thank you.
I think Terry was first.
Councilmember Holmes?
Cheryl, weren't you talking about having like roaming musicians like on the weekends? Was that something that came up in one of our meetings?
Yeah, that is actually something that's done through SDDA, and it's busking musicians, and there are certain areas like at the Statler Brothers, you know, monument there. That's an area. There's several places on Beverly Street. It's all on SDDA's website where those locations are.
Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor Robertson?
I piqued my interest on one of the things you said. Do you have any insight, or maybe Jeff's got some other things too, but you said you wanted to involve other areas like going up Augusta, up Central, you know, how would you bring, or have any ideas about bringing those businesses into the dine out, shop out downtown?
We have talked about that. And if you think about a restaurant, it's going to be difficult for them to set up on Beverly Street. You know, I don't think it's going to be that much of an advantage for them. What I was talking about is to make sure that we are very conscientious about promoting all of Staunton and not just Beverly Street, and making sure that we talk about everyone that has outdoor dining in all of our promotions.
Any additional questions or comments? Well, hopefully 2021 will be a much brighter year. Fingers crossed. But thank you for everything that you're doing for all of Staunton.
Thank you very much. The videos were great.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, that takes us to our next item, which is item 3 on the work session and item A on the regular meeting agenda. It's a discussion of an ordinance to authorize a public right-of-way encroachment by the American Frontier Cultural Foundation for placement of a sign into the public right-of-way of the city of Staunton located along George M. Cochran Parkway. Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jeff Johnston, the city's Director of Public Works, will present this item.
Welcome.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of council, it's great to be here. It's my first day out of quarantine, so it's great to be anywhere. The American Frontier Culture Foundation, on behalf of the American Frontier Culture Museum, has asked permission to place a large lit sign in the roundabout in the George M. Cochran Parkway between McDonald's and Chick-fil-A in order to help direct traffic off of Richmond to the museum. As a rule, as the Public Works Director, I am very anti-encroachment. The public right-of-way belongs to me alone, and it's for the public, and I'm not normally going to stand up here and recommend that we allow encroachment. However, in this case, the foundation and the museum have been very forthcoming with their design. They've made all the concessions that we have asked in the siting, in the design. The lighting will be solar, so there will be no trenching of power through the road to get there. The location has been moved off the center of the roundabout to avoid utilities that are there underground. Obviously, the presence of the sign makes that a more difficult piece of grass to maintain for our streets crew. So the foundation has agreed that they will maintain the grass in the entire roundabout. Everything we've asked for, they have agreed to. But ultimately, this comes down to, is it in the public interest? And in this particular case, staff feels that it is in the public interest to allow this sign. And it is that lens, through that lens, that we will look at all future requests for any encroachment into the public right-of-way. So as much as they may drum me out of the American Public Works Association for saying it, I, along with the rest of the staff, do endorse this ordinance and allow the sign to be placed. So if you have any questions.
All right, are there any questions by council members or any comments?
Mayor Oaks, this is Brenda Mead.
Councilmember Mead.
Mr. Johnston, does the sign otherwise meet our entrance corridor sign ordinances?
It meets most of the entrance corridor sign ordinances. It is not in, because it is offset off on the Cochran Parkway, it's actually not in the Richmond corridor.
Oh, okay.
But it is low, so it doesn't impede any visibility across the roundabout to impede traffic. The lights are external and shielded downward, so there should be no issues with stray light. They really, every comment we provided to the design throughout the process, they incorporated.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
Didn't they used to own that piece of property to begin with, and then,
I believe so.
yeah, and then maybe worked out.
When the parkway was constructed, it was
Right, so it
conferred
was
to the
theirs
city.
originally, but okay. Okay.
Councilmember Claffey.
My question was, how far does the corridor overlay control signing off of the main road?
I believe that, again, now that's getting more to a zoning question. That's a little bit out of my lane, but I believe
I
it's
think Mr.
just,
Rhodes may be able to help with
yeah,
that.
want to jump in here?
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Thanks.
As it was noted, this is within the right of way, and the corridor overlay guidelines do not pertain to city-owned property. However, getting to the question of how far back does it go, basically it's one parcel. So however deep the parcel is from the road that is designated as a corridor, in this case, Richmond Road. So it's one parcel back when it was adopted many years ago. And obviously this property has since been subdivided. in front of it. So that's why it's more than one parcel behind it.
Thank you for the clarification. All right, any additional comments or questions? This-
Madam Mayor, I'm
Yes,
sorry, I think you were going to go exactly where I was just going to remind council that there's a public hearing on this during the regular meeting.
exactly. All right, thank you, though. All right, so we will be looking at that at our regular meeting as item A. The next item is item 4, B, C, and D on your regular agenda, but it's item 4 for the work session. This is a discussion of proposed development of property owned by Middlebrook Trace BA LLC and located at 914 Middlebrook Avenue in the city of Staunton, Virginia, and related actions requested of council. Mr. Rosenberg.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Rhodes will handle all of these items.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Oak City Council members. As I'm sure council will recall at your work session just 2 weeks ago, there was a presentation regarding this proposed development, which is a multifamily development at 914 Middlebrook Road Avenue. It consists of 24 acres. The proposal is for 2 buildings, 3 stories tall each, for 82 units. The projected investment into this property is around $11.5 million. But as you will also recall that this is a federal tax credit project, and that's why that these 3 requests are coming to you tonight. It's in order to gain points in their application to Virginia Housing. And those specific requests of council tonight during your regular meeting is to after conducting a public hearing, to consider an ordinance to partially exempt the property or the development from real estate taxation. 2, consideration of a resolution to designate the property as a revitalization area. Once again, this is specifically to gain additional points in the application process. And number 3, which is something that was not brought to your attention at your last meeting, is for council to consider and to authorize the city manager to write a letter in support of their application for federal tax credits. This is a form letter they are requesting that the city they can include in their application. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have now. Obviously, there is a public hearing during the regular meeting to receive public comments regarding the tax abatement. I'm not sure, do we have the a representative from the developer on Zoom at this time that may answer any questions you have also at this time?
Yeah, this is CJ. I'm here from the development team, and I see Jen just joined.
Would you all like to make any comments? Councilmember Holmes.
I'm curious, how would this affect traffic through that area? It's already kind of tight out through there too.
Councilmember Holmes, this property, I would probably go into this during your regular meeting, is zone R4 high density residential. This type of development, multifamily, 82 units on 24 acres, is well within the density requirements of that district. So it's allowed by right. Obviously, they would need to go through site plan review process, which is administrative process, and various departments and divisions and staff would review those requests to look at any issues with development of the size at that location.
Right. Any additional questions or comments? All right. Excuse me, Vice Mayor Robertson.
Rodney, I'm just assuming that with that, as far as the water, electrical, that area is set and can handle all of these units as far as water supply and everything that's there?
That is something else that would be looked at the site plan stage. Staff has taken a preliminary look at it, and we don't see any significant impediments to developing that property from a public infrastructure standpoint.
Councilmember Clappy.
And as far as the support letter goes, is this routine and is the city manager used to doing this? Supplying this letter?
Mr. Rosenberg.
We haven't not had really a request for this sort of a project during my time period here, Mr. Claffey. I think that it is typical in projects such as this for the city to be asked to submit such a letter. And that's why it has a form that is prescribed by Virginia Housing for use in these circumstances.
But you don't have any reservations?
No, I believe the staff recommendation is in favor of the project and every element that's being requested.
Okay.
All right,
This is Carolyn Dole.
Councilmember Dole.
I just wanted to say that it's duly noted the banjo's been replaced by a guitar.
It has. They do that sometimes.
I can see that now, yeah. All right, thank you, thank you. Again, that'll be items B, C, and D on the regular session agenda. All right, the next item is item number 5, a discussion of resolution regarding events at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Mr. Rosenberg.
Madam Mayor and members of council, this item is on your work session agenda at the request of Council Member Brenda Mead, and I invite her to address the issue at council.
All right, Councilmember Mead. We can't hear. Is she muted?
Ms. Mead, you're on mute.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. We've been asked multiple times by Staunton citizens to express our condemnation of the insurrection that occurred on January 6th in Washington. And on February 11th, we were presented with a petition that was signed by over 300 people. I believe that number has since grown since February 11th, who'd like to believe that as a governing body, we can agree on a statement that would express 3 things. One, that the election was free and fair and that Joe Biden is our lawfully elected president. 2, that we denounce the insurrection that was spurred by Donald Trump's Stop the Steal campaign. And 3, that we commit to protect our citizens against the kind of violent extremism that led to the January 6th attack, and to the Unite the Right violence in Charlottesville in 2017. So it seems to me that what Staunton citizens are asking is, do we share their values? Will we send a message that we won't tolerate far-right extremism and conspiracy theories? We have a new full-time communications manager, and I suggested it would be a good use of her time to help us develop a statement over the next few days without a lot of delay or fuss that reflects what our citizens need to hear to continue to have confidence in us as their elected representatives. So I put that forward as a motion.
As a motion to be voted on at this time?
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
This is Carolyn Dole. I'll second that.
All right, Councilmember Dole has seconded. Any further discussion?
I have one thing.
Councilmember Holmes.
Ms. Mead, shouldn't it say either right or left, you know, as far as, you know, people that are causing a lot of trouble? Wouldn't it be best to be both sides?
Well, that's a possibility. What I'm suggesting is that we have our communications manager draft what she feels would reflect what citizens are asking for, and also be something that we can, as a body, agree on.
All right, any further discussion? Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Mr. Claffey,
No.
Ms. Dole,
Aye.
Ms. Darby,
No.
Mayor Oakes,
No.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
No.
Miss Mead,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
motion fails.
All right, That now takes us to the next item, which is the break. We will be back for the regular meeting at 7:30. The work session is now adjourned. As mayor, I call this meeting of Staunton City Council to order. I note that this meeting is being broadcast over the city's cable channel and streamed live on the city's website so that members of the public may hear our meeting. The meeting is also being recorded. I ask the clerk of council to call the roll for confirmation of those council members present for today's meeting.
Mayor Oakes,
Here.
Miss Darby,
Here.
Mr. Holmes,
Here.
Mr. Claffey,
Here.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Here.
Miss Dull,
Here,
Miss Mead.
Here.
I have confirmed that all council members are present.
Thank you. I ask that City Manager Steve Rosenberg note the participation of any city officials or colleagues or anyone else during today's meeting by Zoom or telephone.
Madam Mayor, participating on the Zoom platform during the regular meeting, we have Andrew McRoberts, the interim city attorney, council members Brenda Mead and Carolyn Dull, and Jen Serber and CJ Tyree, representatives of the developer of Middlebrook Trace. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Please let me mention that notice reasonable under the circumstances of this meeting has been given to the public contemporaneously with the notice provided to members of City Council. In addition to limited public seating in City Hall, access to these meetings has been provided to the public by audio feed on the city's cable channel and the city's website. During public hearings towards the beginning of the meeting and matters from the public on council's agenda, towards the end of the meeting, public comments will be taken in person and by telephone. Members of the public who wish to participate in such matters by telephone at the appropriate time may call 844-854-2222. And when prompted, enter the access code 619358 hashtag. Callers will be recognized in order. The public is reminded that public hearings and matters from the public is a time for council simply to listen to your comments. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. Detailed instructions for public participation by telephone have been publicized over the course of the past week on the city's website and Facebook page and can be found now on the agenda for this meeting and on council's website at www.ci.stanton.va.us/government/city council. Also, let me highlight and have reflected in the meeting minutes that this meeting, although being conducted in person, is also being conducted by Zoom with virtual participation of certain members of City Council, given the catastrophic nature of the declared emergency and disaster related to the COVID-19 outbreak, which is part of the total circumstances makes it impractical or unsafe to assemble in a single location. The meeting is being held consistent with the City Council Ordinance 2020-04 regarding continuity of government, a copy of which can be found online at www.stanton.va.us/COGORD 2020-04 as extended by City Council Ordinance Number 2021-06. All right. With that said, I would also like to remind everyone that comes into the City Council chambers or into City Hall at all, please keep your mask on. Remember to social distance, and we offer sanitizer at the entrance of the chambers, and there's also sanitizing wipes at the podium if you would care to use them. City Council members, if you would like to be recognized, please recognize the mayor and I will recognize you. All right. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would care to do so, please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the invocation moment of silence, and tonight it is Council Member Steve Claffey's turn.
And a happy St. Patrick's Day to all. The luck of the Irish must be in play to allow me to provide the invocation tonight. For those listening tonight, be assured I am wearing of the green, as is the mayor. And I hope everyone will be wearing of the green next Wednesday on March 17th for the official celebration of St. Patrick's Day. I'm very proud of my Irish heritage. I am only a second-generation American. My 24-year-old grandfather, Daniel, immigrated in 1911 to New York City. And his Ellis Island paperwork lists his occupation as assistant to the pawnbroker. Maybe that's where I got my retail background. But at any rate, he arrived penniless in New York, married my grandmother with the great name of Molly Curley. My father was born during the Spanish influenza and a terrible pandemic that went through America 100 years ago. And my grandmother always said it was the worst time to ever be in New York City. Ireland is a very interesting country of only about 4.5 million citizens, which is approximately 1/2 of what Virginia's population is. Yet 35 to 37 million Americans claim Ireland as their native, where they're descended from. So that would be about 10% of America's population lists Irish as their native country. But on to the invocation. If you would like to participate, please bow your head for the traditional Irish blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warmly on your face. May the rain fall gently upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hands. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you. All right, the next item is the mayor's report. I would just like to say that last week I had the honor of speaking to a group of fourth graders at A.R. Ware Elementary School. They wanted to know what it was like to serve on city council and to be the mayor. And I can tell you, fourth graders can ask some really difficult questions. Mr. Rosenberg and myself, we attended an SDDA meeting earlier this week, and the SDDA, they're still plugging along to keep the downtown as vibrant as possible despite the pandemic. I also participated in a trash pickup in the West End. I made my son come along to help, and we enjoyed being able to help out the West End. The folks in that area, they were just very appreciative of the effort. And my last item I have on my list, I would like to take a moment to thank our interim city attorney, because tonight will be his last meeting with the Staunton City Council. This is Andrew McRoberts. Mr. McRoberts, we appreciate all of the guidance that you have given us, and you have done so with such great knowledge, professionalism, and you have shown each and every one of us a tremendous amount of respect. So thank you for being willing to help Staunton out in our time of need. And frankly, I
Thank
would
you,
like
Andrew.
to applaud Mr. McRoberts.
Yeah.
We're going to keep you on until Sunday at midnight because John Blair will begin his duties as the new city attorney on Monday. All right, so the next item is additional items by members of council.
This is Carolyn Dahl.
Councilmember Dole.
It seems that we have a newfound interest in following the council memoranda. And so I wanted to point out that we are not going to be able to do anything with the nominations committee tonight because council procedure memorandum number 2, item 4 says a report from the nominations committee will be sent to council with the agenda materials prior to the council meeting. That wasn't done. So we need to wait until those of us who are not on the committee receive that report along with the agenda materials.
All right, Mr. Rosenberg or Mr. McRoberts, any guidance concerning this matter? I know that neither one of you probably have that particular procedure memorandum before you right now.
The council procedures, and Mr. McRoberts may wish to weigh in, were adopted by council at its organizational meeting. And if they generally govern the conduct of the body. In a particular instance, I think that it's within council's authority to dispense with the application of a procedure in a particular instance if it so desires.
Madam Mayor.
Vice Mayor, I'm sorry, Mr. McRoberts, were you going to say?
Yeah,
something?
Madam Mayor, I concur. I mean, those are policies that are adopted by the council for the council's, for the convenience of the council. If the council wishes to take a motion to supersede it, then they can certainly do that. If they don't do that, then I recommend that you follow it.
All right. Vice Mayor Robertson?
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion that we, at this time, vote to go ahead and proceed with the nominations report so that we can take a vote and get the people that we have voted on working on the committees. These committees need people to work on the committees, not sit around and wait until such time as we can send another, wait another 2 weeks. We've got committees that need to perform their jobs and do the business of the city of Staunton. So I make my motion that we go ahead and dispense at this time so we can go ahead and vote on that.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Darby.
I second Vice Mayor Robertson's motion.
All right. So we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
This is
Carol.
Carolyn Dahl.
This is Brenda Mead.
Well,
Councilmember Dole.
I'm amazed that we're going to ignore our council memoranda, but I think that's good because if we want to ignore this one, then I suggest that we ignore that we have to wait 2 years to name something after someone who has passed. And so I'll just make a note of that we are willing as a council evidently to entertain the notion to ignore the procedures that we voted on in July.
All right. Councilmember Mead.
I think Carolyn has expressed my sentiments well. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments?
Madam Mayor, I understand.
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I understand Ms. Mead's and Ms. Dole's where they're trying to go with this, but I think also that is something. What I'm talking about is something to actually help the city govern what you're trying to do, and I understand that. We can talk more about it, in emails between ourselves. But, this is what we're trying to do is have committees perform the jobs that we need to have them do, not in this circumstance, which you're trying to get passed. I understand what Ms. Dole is trying to do. I understand, and I appreciate that. But I think this is what trying to actually get the work of the city done is more important tonight at this time than yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Mayor Oaks, this is Brenda Mead. Is there a reason why the nominations committee didn't provide its report? They've had well over a week to do so.
Well, I've never known us
Some
not.
exigent circumstances that I'm not aware of.
Well, as long as I've been on council, I know that we have always proceeded with the vote from the nominations committee right after they've had their meeting. And in some cases, the nominating committee would have meetings right before the work session meeting of the city council from years gone by. Anyone on the nominating committee would like to make any comments?
No comment. I believe we're just following standard routine policy.
So,
How is that standard routine policy if it's not adhering to our council memoranda?
Believe in, we're doing the same thing that we did last year.
yeah.
I'm sorry?
We're following the same procedure we used last year.
And I guess that means that we didn't follow procedures before, so we're not going to follow procedures in the future?
Either that or you just missed it.
I missed what?
You missed the point where you didn't follow up on it.
I beg your pardon, but I'm not on the nominations committee.
I understand that, but I mean, any chance you never,
Well, as members of council, we could bring this point up at any time. And it has been the tradition of the council to go ahead and move forward with the vote. Now, maybe this is something that we need to take a look at. So this might be a very good thing that it's being addressed tonight, because maybe we need to take a look at it and either reconsider it or revise it in any
Or
way,
follow
shape,
the
or form.
procedure. Or just in the future, let's just follow the procedure.
Or take a look at it to see whether or not if the past procedure has been doable, or if we do need to go ahead and keep it as is and move forward. Hearing no other discussion,
This is Carolyn Dole.
Councilmember Dole.
The reason that the council procedure memorandum says what it says is so that those council members who are not on the nominations committee will have an opportunity to see who is being nominated and what their qualifications are. And I think it's important, and that's why it's in there. So I can't imagine why we would not want to follow it. It's not a huge task, because you can, I mean, it's an email is a report and attach materials to it. So I'm surprised that people don't seem to care about following the procedures, but whatever.
Councilmember Dole, I do not believe it's a matter of not caring about following the procedures. It's a matter of following what the councils and previous councils from years gone by have done. And this is exactly how previous councils have conducted the business when it comes to the nominating committee. And also, Councilwoman Dole, we cannot see you. I don't know if your camera. Well, we need to see your face. Can you push your camera down? We can only see your hair and.
No, thank you. I am visible. That's what the,
Okay.
that's what.
No,
it
we need to verify that
required.
it's you, and we cannot verify that with just the top of your hair. We cannot verify that it's you. Okay, I see some hands. If you could just push your camera
I
down.
don't need
so
to
we
do
can-
that.
Okay.
But I would go back to saying we voted on these procedures July. So it doesn't matter what former councils did. We voted to do this. And I've been waiting and waiting to get a report. Not once has anybody sent a report and the associated materials.
Hey,
All I'm
Councilmember
saying is
Dole.
let's wait till the next meeting so that a report can be sent with the attached materials, and that those of us who are not on the nominations committee have an opportunity to see.
Councilmember Dole, you've had many opportunities to raise this as an issue, because this is not the first report that the nominating committee has brought before the council. This has been done in years past, and it's been handled in this manner by previous mayors along with myself. Now, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Ms. Dole,
No.
Ms. Darby. Aye. Mayor Oakes,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
aye.
Miss Mead,
No.
motion carries.
All right. So the next item, well, is additional items from members of council. And so we have Councilmember Claffey with the nominating committee.
Mayor Oakes, I also have an additional item before we go
All
to
right,
the
well, we
nominations
first,
committee.
I'm sorry, the floor has recognized Councilmember Claffey.
Madam Mayor, the nominating committee is met on March the 2nd of this year, and we have the following proposals for boards and authorities. For the Redevelopment and Housing Authority, to appoint Allison Profeta to replace the expired term of Vicky Painter for a 4-year term beginning March 1, 2021 and ending February 28, 2025. To appoint David Rissmeyer to fill the unexpired term of Shannon Harrington beginning March 1st, 2021 and expiring January 31st, 2022. For the Tourism Advisory Board, to appoint Pamela Mason Wagner to fill the unexpired term of Sherry Tucker beginning March 1st, 2021 and expiring December 31st, 2022. For the Economic Development Authority, to appoint Nelson Ashby to fill the unexpired term of Bruce Elder beginning March 1st, 2021 and expiring January 31st, 2023. And a reappointment for the Youth Commission to reappoint Taylor Flavin Rose to a 3-year term beginning February 1, 2021 and expiring January 31st, 2024.
All right, so we have the nominating committee's recommendation. Since this is coming from a committee, we do not need a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, this is Carolyn Dahl.
Councilmember Dahl.
I would like for each of those boards to be in a separate motion so that we can vote individually on the applicants.
Okay, it is my recommendation that we not handle it in that manner. We are not here to embarrass any citizen that is willing to volunteer to serve on a board or a commission. It is my recommendation we handle it as a slate. And it has been presented as such, and we do not need a second because it's coming from the nominating committee. Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Miss Mead. Miss Mead,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Gagging.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Miss Dull,
Well, I vote aye on almost everyone.
Miss Darby. Aye. Mayor Oakes,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right. Any additional items from other council members?
Madam
Mayor
Mayor,
Oakes, this is Brenda Mead.
Vice Mayor Robertson?
I was just going to say, we're talking about COVID-19 and participating in the COVID clinic, but with the mayor's permission, I'm going to basically move my report on that to item E on the updated progress of the COVID-19 vaccine distribution.
Does anyone else on council have an issue with Vice Mayor Robertson given that report under item E after Dr. Cornegie has presented?
Well.
All right, hearing none, that is acceptable. Councilmember Mead.
Yes, I just want to report that Shenandoah Green is planting trees this weekend. And if anyone is interested in volunteering, and Shenandoah Green is also looking for private homes who would like to have trees planted on their property. So if you want to reach out to the mayor, or excuse me, to Carolyn Dahl or to myself, or if you know someone at the organization, they would be happy to get to have you out with them planting trees this weekend and helping them to find homes that might be interested in having trees planted. They're also looking for churches who typically have a lot of unused space and a lot of grass that needs to be cut that might appreciate having trees instead of grass.
All right, anyone else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes. Councilmember Holmes.
I move to approve the the regular meeting as presented.
The work session and regular meeting minutes of February 25th, 2021. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor Robertson?
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor Oakes, on
Councilmember
line
Mead?
22 of the minutes, the expression, it says he wanted Virginians. It should say correctly, he saw Virginians.
Does everyone see the line that Councilmember Mead is referring to?
Yes, because he didn't want Virginians to revoke the privileges that had been afforded African-American people. He saw them do that and was disappointed. So it's a very, very important distinction.
Okay, Councilmember Holmes, do you want to
Amend.
thank you. Do you want to amend your motion?
What was the line?
Line 122,
I'm sorry, guys, I got.
No, that's all right. Take your time.
Push the button here. It took my screen somewhere. Sorry, guys, I've kind of
You're
lost
fine.
it.
It's line 122 to.
You just say just change it, or if we could just change line 122 to Saul, Virginia.
he saw Virginians, not he wanted Virginians.
He saw Virginians.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, so we have an amended motion on the floor to amend the work session and regular meeting minutes of line 122 from he wanted to he saw.
Correct.
All right. And Councilman Holmes has made that motion. And we have a second by Vice Mayor Robertson.
With those changes, I second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Mayor Oakes,
Aye.
Miss Mead,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Miss Darby. Aye. Miss Dull.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. The next item is under the regular meeting. It's item A, a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to authorize a public right-of-way encroachment by the city of Staunton for placement of a sign by American Frontier Cultural Foundation located along George M. Cochran Parkway. Mr. Rosenberg.
Madam Mayor, Jeff Johnston, the city's Public Works Director, will present this item.
Welcome.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of council, the American Frontier Culture Foundation, on behalf of the American Frontier Culture Museum, has asked permission to encroach upon the public right-of-way in detail to put a sign up in the roundabout on the George M. Cochran Parkway between McDonald's and Chick-fil-A off of Richmond Avenue. Staff has reviewed their design and they have been very accommodating in meeting all of our requirements. And while I would normally be very anti-encroachment, in this particular case, I concur with staff that we allow this encroachment because it is in the public interest. And to be clear, that is the lens by which all future encroachment requests will be looked at. So if you have any questions.
All right, are there any questions? Thank you. Okay, we need to have a public hearing on this matter. So when I hit the gavel, if you are for or against this particular issue, please come to the podium and speak. You need to give your name, your address, and please speak no more than 5 minutes. I will entertain our guests that are here in person first, and then we will go to our Zoom callers. And with that, the public hearing is now open. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Peggy Sheets. My address is 1087 Hermitage Road, Staunton, Virginia. I'm here representing the Board of Trustees. I am the chair of the Board of Trustees for the Frontier Culture Museum. And on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the directors of the American Frontier Culture Foundation, we would really be appreciative of council's consideration for the ordinance. We have been a partner with the city of Staunton and the surrounding area for 31 years in promoting tourism. Right now, because of the development in front of the entrance to the museum, our guests often can't find us. So this sign would encourage tourists and guests to find the Frontier Culture Museum, and in return, we would encourage those guests to enjoy everything the area has to offer in Staunton and the surrounding areas. Thank you.
And thank you. Would anyone else care to speak concerning this matter? Mr. Rosenberg, do we have any callers?
We have several callers and we can check and see whether they're calling to discuss this item, Madam Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
The caller who's on the line, are you calling about the sign encroachment ordinance or another matter?
Another matter.
We'll come back to you. Thank you. The caller on the line, are you calling about the sign encroachment ordinance or another matter?
Another matter.
We'll come back to you. Thank you. Is the caller on the line calling about the sign encroachment ordinance or another matter? Let's skip to the next caller. Are you calling about the sign encroachment ordinance or another matter?
Another matter.
We'll come back to you. Thank you. Those are all the callers, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right. Public hearing is now closed. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Claffey. I'm looking at Councilmember Darby, thinking of Claffey. My apologies, Councilmember Darby.
Thank you. I move that the city council adopt an ordinance to authorize public right-of-way encroachment by the American Frontier Culture Foundation of a sign into the public right-of-way of the city of Staunton along George M. Cochran Parkway as presented.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, I will gladly second that.
Councilmember Claffey on the other end.
Darby on that.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Miss Mead,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Miss Stoll,
Aye.
Miss Darby,
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, the next item is item B, a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to partially exempt from real estate taxation by classification or designation property located at 914 Middlebrook Avenue in the city of Staunton, Virginia, and proposed to be developed by Middlebrook Trace, VA LLC as Middlebrook Trace. Mr. Rosenberg.
Madam Mayor, may I also suggest that you go ahead and announce the next two items, as all three of those will be presented at the same time?
I will be happy to. The next item is item C, consideration of a resolution to designate property located at 914 Middlebrook Avenue as a revitalization area. And item D, consideration of authorization of city manager to execute and deliver to Virginia Housing Development Authority a letter in support of allocation of tax credits to Middlebrook Trace VA LLC. All right, Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Rodney Rhodes, the city's senior planner, will present items B, C, and D.
Welcome back, Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Oakes, City Council members. Middlebrook Trace Virginia LLC proposes to develop an 82-unit apartment complex at 914 Middlebrook Avenue that will serve low and moderate income families. The proposal is for two 3-story buildings consisting of 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units. The site contains a little over 24 acres. It is zoned R4 high density residential, our highest density district for residents. I would note that multifamily apartments are permitted in the R4 district by right with administrative approval of a site plan. No further land use approvals are required. And I will also, once again, note that the proposed density is well within the limits of the R4 district. As council is aware, this is a federal tax credit project, and that's why it's coming before you this evening. The developer is requesting three things from council tonight: a tax abatement ordinance, a revitalization area resolution, and to authorize the city manager to submit a letter to Virginia Housing supporting the project for the allocation of federal tax credits. Start off with a tax abatement ordinance. The request is for a tax abatement of $2,000 a year for a period of 3 years. The developer estimates that they will put in about $11.5 million worth of improvements to this property. And based on that figure, the city assessor and this current city's tax rate, the city assessor estimates that the annual tax revenue would be $109,000 starting in 2024 when the project is completed. Regarding the revitalization area resolution, the developer notes that this will increase the application score by 15 points, and this is a very competitive application process they're going through. There are several criteria under Virginia Housing which allows you to gain these points. And although this property is not in a qualified census tract and it's not already established as a redevelopment area or conservation area, and it's not in a housing rehabilitation zone already, council, through an adoption of a resolution tonight, establishing the defined revitalization area, the project may qualify for these application points. I would note that the developer just over a year ago prepared a need and demand analysis for a similar project in Augusta County. The name of that project is Mountain Laurel Manor 3. And in the executive summary, they note that the total need for tax credit units such as the proposed in the Staunton, Augusta County area by 2025 is calculated to be over 2,000 units. The comprehensive plan for the city of Staunton supports low to moderate income housing. It cites it several times in the document. In one place it states that we must ensure that Staunton's housing stock is an adequate mix. We need to address housing issues such as affordable housing, and affordable quality housing is necessary for maintaining a labor force for employers to access. Regarding the entitlement community designation, back in February of 2019, the Department of Housing and Urban Development designated the city as an entitlement community. And just about 5 months later, City Council approved the 5-year consolidated plan and the 2019 annual action plan. And the consolidated plan guides federal funding decisions for the next 5 years, and it has various goals. One of those goals is to provide decent housing by preserving the affordable housing stock. And another one is to provide a suitable living environment through safer, more livable neighborhoods and increase housing opportunities. A housing needs assessment was undertaken as part of this plan. And the housing needs assessment indicates the following: lower income households in the city have been greatly impacted by high housing costs. That actually between 2000 and 2015, the median income for city residents declined. However, the median rent increased by 28% over that same time period. Median income decreasing while median home values and rents continue to rise contributes to a diminished ability for households to reside in the city. And finally, there is a request for a support letter, and the purpose of this letter is to communicate the city's support for the allocation of federal housing tax credits requested by the developer for the proposed development. Staff recommends City Council approve all 3 of these items. There is a need for low and moderate income housing, which has been well established in various city plans. The proposed tax abatement is insignificant compared to the expected investment in this property and the projected tax revenue. And although the proposed development is not located in an opportunity zone or a qualified census tract, any quality affordable housing development on appropriately zoned property benefits the city. Therefore, staff recommends support of all three items. I'd be glad to take any questions you have at this time. I believe the developers are also on the Zoom to answer any questions, or we could answer any questions after you conduct the public hearing on the tax abatement.
Right. Are there any questions at this time? Okay. Hearing none, I will go ahead and bang the gavel just like before. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or against this item, please come to the podium, or you may call in. Again, state your name, your address, and you have 5 minutes to speak. With that, the public hearing is now open. Would anyone like to speak? Mr. Rosenberg.
We have the same callers.
The same
so
callers,
we'll
okay.
run through those again very quickly. I think we have 4 callers.
Okay.
Is the caller calling about the tax exemption proposed or another item?
No. Another item.
We'll come back again. Thank you. Is the caller calling about the proposed tax exemption or another item?
Yes.
You're calling about the tax exemption?
Yes.
Please state your name and address your name and address and address your comments to council.
My name is Carter Hunter Hopkins, and I live at 632 West Frederick Street, and I have 2 questions about Middlebrook Trace. Is there a sidewalk on Bridge Street? And do we really think that people making $7.25 an hour can be expected to pay half of their income on rent?
Right. Thank you. Do we have any other callers?
Yes, we do. Let's move on to the next caller. Is the caller calling to address the proposed tax exemption or another item?
Another item?
We'll come back to you then. Are you calling to address the proposed tax exemption or another item?
Other item.
We'll come back again. Thank you. That's it, Madam Mayor.
All right. Did we receive the name and address of the one caller that wanted some additional information?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, if we did, Mr. Rosenberg, if you could reach out to that caller at a later date.
This is Councilmember Mead.
Councilmember Mead.
The entire feed just dropped out, so I heard nothing after the caller's question.
We did not have any other callers to call in concerning this matter.
And what was the response to the caller?
There was no response. Because during a public hearing and matters from the public, we do not engage in conversation. We're happy to follow up after the meeting or at another designated time. Right. Would anyone else like to address this issue? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor Robertson.
do we want to, I can do all 3 at one time?
Well,
or one at a
it's
time?
just one.
Just one.
Yeah, we need to do each motion one at a time.
Madam Mayor, I move that City Council pursuant to Virginia Code 58.1-3219.4 adopt the proposed ordinance partially exempting from real estate taxation property located at 914 Middlebrook Avenue in the city of Staunton, Virginia, and proposed to be developed by Middlebrook Trace, Virginia, LLC as Middlebrook Trace as presented.
Right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilmember Holmes.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion?
This is Brenda Mead.
Councilwoman Mead.
Thank you. I heard Mr. Rhodes say reading from our comprehensive plan, I believe that it's our goal to have both affordable housing and an adequate stock of affordable housing, but also to provide safer and more livable neighborhoods. And so I think the caller's question about livability and sidewalks connecting residents to public transportation are things that we should address, and not necessarily for this situation, but I think in the future that we need to make sure that if we're going to provide quote unquote affordable housing for our citizens, that we're also thinking about how those citizens are going to be able to access public transportation. And I don't think that walking along the road with a wide median or a wide gutter on the side, or whatever you want to call it, is a way to promote a safe neighborhood for those who need to walk to public transportation to get groceries, to go to the drugstore, to get to work. So I think in the future that we need to consider that when we're considering these projects.
All right, thank you. Any further comments or questions? And hearing none, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Ms. Stoll,
Aye.
Ms. Darby,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Miss Mead,
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. That takes us to item C. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I move that City Council pursuant to Virginia Code 36-55.30.2A, adopt the proposed resolution designating property located at 914 Middlebrook Avenue as a revitalization area as presented.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Claffey.
I will second it.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Ms. Darby,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Ms. Stoll,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Miss Mead,
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. That takes us to item D. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Holmes.
I move the city manager be authorized and directed to prepare and send to Virginia Housing a letter substantially in a form attached as Attachment A, supporting the allocation of federal housing tax credits requested by the developer for the purpose development as presented.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Claffey.
I will second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Miss Mead,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Ms. Dull,
Aye.
Ms. Darby,
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to item E, an update on progress of COVID-19 vaccine distribution. Mr. Rosenberg.
Madam Mayor and members of council, due to unforeseen circumstances, Dr. Cornegie, the health director for the Central Shenandoah Health District, who is scheduled to be with us this evening, is unable to join us. And the public information officer for the health district, whom I contacted this morning, has a prior engagement. So she too is unable to be with us. But Ms. Laura Lee White, the public information officer for the district, has prepared a summary for me that I propose to share with you now, and I'll email it to you subsequently, and we can make it available to the public as well.
Thank you.
And then my understanding is that Vice Mayor Robertson has some remarks that he'd like to share with council and the public after I provide this information.
That is correct.
So this statement is titled Central Shenandoah Health District COVID-19 Update for Staunton City Council. Tomorrow, March 12th, marks the year anniversary since the first documented case of COVID-19 in the Central Shenandoah Health District. Over the last 12 months, CSHD has reported 25,655 COVID-19 cases, 875 hospitalizations due to COVID-19, and 471 deaths due to COVID-19. In the city of Staunton specifically, there have been 2,488 COVID-19 cases, 77 hospitalizations due to COVID-19, and 69 deaths due to COVID-19. In the city of Staunton, cases have been decreasing for the past 73 days, which is reflective of an overall decrease in cases throughout the Northwest region of the Commonwealth. Staunton's percent positivity is at a 7-day average of 4.7%, a percentage that we have not seen since prior to the surge of cases in November. Overall, cases are decreasing, as well as hospitalizations and deaths due to COVID-19, which is great news. Furthermore, we now have 3 very effective COVID-19 vaccines available to our community members. Though we are seeing a decrease in cases coupled with an increase in COVID-19 vaccines, we need to continue to be vigilant in practicing mask wearing, social distancing, hand hygiene, and following quarantine and isolation protocol. This is especially true as we see more new variants of the virus that causes COVID-19 pop up across the nation and in the Commonwealth. To date, the Central Shenandoah Health District has dispensed over 35,000 COVID-19 vaccines to our community. This number is reflective of only the health district's efforts and does not capture the vaccine efforts of local healthcare partners. For the city of Staunton, approximately 11,657 persons have received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Approximately 5,000 persons in Staunton are fully vaccinated. Though we experienced a slow vaccine rollout due to limited vaccine supplies at the federal and state level, vaccines are coming and our local vaccine allocation continues to increase. The health district has access to all 3 COVID-19 vaccines available, including the 2-dose Moderna and Pfizer mRNA vaccines and the first dose Johnson & Johnson viral vector vaccine. CSHD and our healthcare partners are currently vaccinating persons in phase 1A and phase 1B. We recently expanded eligibility for persons in phase 1B to include essential workers in food and agriculture, manufacturing, and grocery store workers. In conjunction with the essential worker groups we were already vaccinating, which includes law enforcement, fire, hazmat, migrant labor camps, correctional facilities, homeless shelters, and K through 12 childcare workers. We have also expanded our vaccination efforts for individuals who are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine based on age and/or medical condition. Currently, we are vaccinating persons age 65 or older and persons 50 to 64 with certain medical conditions and disabilities. We expect to be expanding to other age groups who are eligible for the vaccine as a part of the persons aged 16 to 64 with certain medical conditions and disabilities very soon. We encourage everyone to pre-register for the COVID-19 vaccine by going to vaccinate.virginia.gov or by calling 877-VAX-IN-VA. Pre-registering for the COVID-19 vaccine is very important for everyone to do, no matter if they are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine in phase 1 or phase 2. CSHD is transitioning our COVID-19 vaccine clinic appointment process from invitation only to a combination of invitation only and posting appointment slots on our website starting Saturday, March 7th. CSHD will be posting available appointment slots for the next day's clinics at 12 p.m. on our website. These appointments are based on vaccine availability. CSHD will be continuing to use the state pre-registration database to pull names of eligible persons and inviting them to our clinics first. There are still appointment slots that need to be filled, then these appointments will be available on our website. Persons who are pre-registered will receive priority access to vaccine appointments. We hope to make appointments more accessible to eligible community members and provide another way to register for an appointment. Our goal is to get vaccines in arms as quickly, efficiently, and equitably as possible. And then there's provided a link to the COVID-19 vaccine appointment webpage, and we will publicize that on our website and on our social media channels. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Robertson.
Yeah, what I would like to say is that this is for Augusta Health, which is working, as an addition to what's going on with Central Shenandoah. Basically, as of this morning, Augusta Health had vaccinated 34,000 or given 34,000 vaccinations as of this afternoon. I think they did an additional 700 in clinic today, so 34,700. There are some guidelines that are slightly different than what you just heard, but the current guidelines are, if you are a health care worker and have not received your vaccine, you can get one. If you are 65 and above from Staunton, Augusta County, or Waynesboro, you can get a vaccine. And if you are 45 up to 64 with chronic health conditions, which would be determined by your PCP or doctor, you can then also get a vaccine. Now, I would say right now, Augusta is doing mainly Pfizer, and they are doing, on some of the weekends, they are doing the J&J or Johnson & Johnson, it's kind of affectionately known as the one and done vaccine. I know that there has been some issues, people saying, well, don't like the idea that it's not quite as good. My advice to anyone is please take whatever vaccine you are offered. The Pfizer and Moderna, yes, are sitting at 94, 95% effectiveness. The latest update that I heard is that the Moderna, after further evaluation, is now sitting at 85% and 100% effectiveness in stopping hospitalizations and death. And the best part about it is that it is one and done. And the best part about later on down the road is that Johnson & Johnson is not going to have the refrigeration requirements like Pfizer and Moderna do. So therefore, other communities that may not have some of the refrigeration requirements will be better for them. And then later on down the road, also some of our countries in other parts of the world that don't have the means that the U.S. has will be able, this will be a very great vaccine for them as well. What I would tell anybody is that to go on to, Augusta was having issues with the website from the Augusta Health District. So they basically created their own website, and please write this down. You go to www.augustahealth.com. When you click on that, you will get the Augusta Health website, and at the very, very top of the site, you'll see in red Augusta Health or COVID vaccine info. And when you click on that, it takes you right to the website where you can get vaccine information and also sign up for a vaccine appointment. Typically, when you sign up, the appointments that are due that day, you can actually sometimes get in that day if there are a vaccine spot. The next day, the next day's appointment pop up. So I would, like I would say, between Central Shenandoah and Augusta, the two working in concert are getting vaccine in people's arms as quickly as we can. It is a logistical challenge. Let's put it that way, because once you get the one, you've got to go back and then get an appointment, because they have to make sure that they've got a vaccine for you the next time when your time slot comes up. Unless, of course, you get J&J, and like I said, it's one and done. So that's basically what I have for that. Like I said, 45 to 64 with chronic health conditions, 65 and above for anyone, and anybody that's a healthcare worker can sign up for vaccines at augustahealth.com.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions?
Mayor Oaks, this is Brenda Mead.
Councilmember Mead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, Vice Mayor, are you speaking as an authorized representative of Augusta Health?
I'm speaking as a pharmacist that works at the COVID clinic, and I asked him if I could relay that information.
Right. Any additional questions or comments? All right, hearing none, that takes us to item F, a resolution requesting the Staunton Circuit Court to appoint an alternate member of the Staunton Board of Equalization. Mr. Rosenberg.
Madam Mayor, Charlie Haney, the city's assessor, will present this item.
All right. Welcome.
Madam Mayor and council members, appreciate you hearing this or considering this resolution tonight. As stated in the briefing, I'm requesting the council pass this resolution to allow for an alternate member of our Board of Equalization, our BOE. As you may know, after each assessment, there's a time for appeals where first to the assessor's office, and if people still feel aggrieved, they can go to the city's BOE. The board is made up of citizens of the city of Staunton, and at least one must be a real estate professional. Staunton has a 3-member BOE, and as you may imagine, in a small city, there might be times when a member may feel they should recuse themselves from hearing the appeal, or even sometimes a taxpayer may request a member recuse themselves. So passing this resolution would help us to be efficient with our hearing. It would help the taxpayer to feel they were treated more fairly by the BOE, and it would help our BOE to more easily make a decision to recuse themselves, either for personal or professional reasons. Thank you again.
Thank you. Are there any questions by council members?
Mayor Oaks, this is Brenda Mead.
Councilmember Mead.
Mr. Haney, I know you must be busy.
A little bit.
Yeah. Do you have somebody in the queue for this position, or is there a pool of people, or how are these people identified?
Well, I have one person who is volunteered to take that position if we should create it. I also have another person in the queue if they don't accept.
And how do you develop the queue?
It's just from our connections, really, or I guess we've taken the board's been in place in Staunton since I've been here. I know in other jurisdictions, other cities, we would take recommendations from sort of anybody, I guess. And then it has to go to the judge, circuit court judge, to be approved.
So could anybody call you up and say, Mr. Haney, I'd like to be considered for this position?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But the final approval is made by the circuit court
The circuit
judge
court
for the
judge.
city of Staunton.
That's correct. Appoints them.
All right.
There are some, there's some other, there are some qualifications. They have to be a resident of the city. A majority of the members have to be freeholders, and at least a third of the members have to be in that category of real estate professionals.
And what is a freeholder?
it's somebody that owns a piece of property or is a remainderman on a life estate.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Oakes,
Councilmember Holmes.
I move that city council adopt a resolution requesting the Staunton Circuit Court to appoint an alternate member to the Staunton Board of Equalization as presented.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Mayor Oakes,
Councilmember Darby,
I second that.
thank you. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Miss Mead,
Aye.
Miss Dole,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Miss Darby,
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. The next item is item G, a discussion and introduction of ordinance to appropriate an additional 20% of the FY 2021 adopted budget. Mr. Rosenberg.
Madam Mayor, Phil Traer, our Chief Finance Officer, will present this item.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of council, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. Tonight, we have an additional budget appropriation request on our FY 2021 adopted budget. As you're aware, in response to the uncertainty of the pandemic, the city's budget was budgeted at a level of 60% to allow staff to assess the impact the pandemic was having on our revenues as the fiscal year unfolded. In December 2020, council appropriated an additional 20% of the FY 2021 adopted budget, bringing the total appropriation up to 80% at that time. Revenues continue to flow into the city at a level to meet our FY 2021 budget requirements. Local taxes of interest to report at this time are meals tax through January are down $313,000 to same time last year, but are $317,000 above budget projections. Sales tax through December are actually up $32,000 the same time last year and $645,000 above budget projections. Lodging tax, as you've heard earlier, is down $223,000 the same time last and $104,000 below budget projections. In addition, real estate, personal property, and business license are all set to meet budget projections. Given all these positive variances, we feel comfortable with appropriating the final 20% of the FY 2021 budget at this time, bringing the total FY 2021 adopted budget appropriation to 100%. This final request equals $22,858,000 and does not require a public hearing as one was held during the budgeting process for the full budget amount. The city portion of this budget appropriation is $15,417,000. The school portion is $7,440,000. Details have been summarized in your packet and includes the following. General fund, $11,275,000. Debt service, $969,000. Blue Ridge Court Services, $218,000. Water Fund, $1,009,000. Sewer Fund, $912,000. Parking Fund, $108,000. Stormwater Fund, $258,000. Environmental Fund, $667,000. Total city, $15,417. School side, Education Fund, $6,494,000. Cafeteria Fund, $294,000. Textbook Fund, $55,000. State operated programs, $596,000. Total school, $7,440,000. Total appropriation again is $22,858,000. This ordinance will be brought back to council for consideration at our March 22nd, 2021 regular meeting, and the city manager recommends its introduction as presented.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Vice Mayor Robertson.
I move to introduce an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2021 budget by adding an additional 20% of the fiscal year 2021 adopted budget in an amount equal to $22,858,124.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
A second, Mr. Mayor Oakes.
Councilmember Holmes has second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Mr. Holmes,
Aye.
Miss Mead,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Robertson,
Aye.
Miss Darby,
Aye.
Miss Dull,
Aye.
Mr. Claffey,
Aye.
Mayor Oakes.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Trayer.
Thank you.
All right, that leads us to matters from the city manager, Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes, Madam Mayor and members of council, just a couple of items. First, as Mayor Oakes noted, John Blair, the new city attorney, will join us beginning on Monday. And we look forward to his arrival. As I've also informed council previously, but to remind you, our new communications manager, Michelle Bixler, also starts on Monday, and I'll look forward to introducing her to you all at the next council meeting on March 25th. And finally, I just want to let you know that we're moving forward with some of the measures on which we briefed you last fall concerning safety improvements in Gypsy Hill Park. If you recall that briefing, we talked about signage and pavement markings and other measures to address occasional conflicts among bicyclists, pedestrians, vehicles, and the community development and parks and recreation staffs are working together with one another now that the warmer weather is returning, and they're going to bring Public Works into the mix. And I think in the next couple of months, you'll see some progress on that initiative along the lines that we shared with you at your briefing last fall. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next item is matters from the public. I am going to read 5 basic ground rules, but I will state that whether you're coming to the podium or you're calling in, to please state your name. Also state your address, and you have 5 minutes to speak. With that, I'll go ahead and read the 5 basic ground rules. This part of City Council's agenda is entitled Matters from the Public. It is a time that council sets aside to hear from citizens and others about a wide variety of subjects. Before we begin, I'd like to share 5 basic ground rules that we ask you to respect as you make your remarks. Number 1, please come to the podium, identify yourself, and complete your remarks within 5 minutes. The mayor will let you know when you've reached your 5 minutes. We ask that you please give your name, your address, and then keep your remarks at 5 minutes or less. Number 2, this is a time for us as a council simply to listen to your remarks. In an effort to encourage and maintain orderly conduct, we will not engage in give and take debate. If you are seeking information, you may mention it during your remarks, and the city manager or his staff may get in touch with you in the days ahead. Number 3, we ask that you direct your comments to council as a whole and not to identify members of council or to an individual employee of the city. If you want to take up an issue with an individual member of council or an employee, please speak with us before or after the meeting. We are also accessible by phone, mail, or email. Again, we ask that you direct your comments to the council as a whole. Number 4, we expect every speaker to be civil and courteous. Using profanity, making personal attacks on an individual, and doing anything that is disruptive to the orderly conduct of this meeting will not be tolerated. Number 5, finally, as the presiding officer, it is my duty to remind you that if you choose not to abide by these ground rules, I may find that you are out of order and will ask you to withdraw from the podium. We certainly do not want to reach that point and even beyond. So we respectfully ask for your full cooperation in observing these guidelines. When you reach 5 minutes, I will let you know. If you continue to speak, I will ask you to step away from the podium. And a third time, I will ask you to please stop speaking and step away from the podium. Otherwise, you may be charged with disorderly conduct under Virginia Code Section 18.2-415A2. If you wish, you may obtain a copy of the ground rules from our interim clerk of council, Ms. Smith. And now we welcome all speakers. The podium is now available for matters from the public, and I'll accept our citizens that are in the audience first. So the podium is open.
Excuse me. My name is Rusty Ashby. I live at 917 Powhatan Street, Staunton, Virginia. Mayor Oakes, members of City Council. First, I want to thank the nominating committee and the City Council like I say, all but maybe 6 of you. Thank you for your support in this, and I pledge I will work very hard to get the economic growth in Staunton moving. I look forward to meeting the other members of the committee and working with the city in whatever direction. I feel I'm very thankful for this opportunity. So I got 5 minutes. I said I wasn't going to say anything, but I feel like I have to say a couple of things. And I know you can't answer me, but I think in April, I'll make sure that this Zoom thing's going to be over. And I'm going to be glad that that's over. I'm going to be sure to be at that meeting just to see how that meeting happens without the cameras. Should be a lot different. One thing I like to, when you all are continuing your debate about this, I've been in business 50 years, and I believe you'll find a memorandum doesn't hold near the weight as a policy holds. So you need to research that. Been in business 50 years. I've seen plenty of memorandums changed in a board meeting, not a policy. Requires a lot more work. And let's see, there was one other thing that, I think Mayor Oakes, you've done a great job with this meeting. And I look forward to a lot better things happening here at the council here once the Zoom calls are over with. And thank you all for your service. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak?
Deborah Kushner, 1311 North Augusta Street. Responsive, efficient government is City Council's vision statement, stated with each agenda item on the council's memorandum. But responsive to whom, and how do you measure efficiency? Since the second week of January, your constituents have been calling for council to denounce the insurrectionist violence of January 6th. No response except for the mayor's misappropriated, misguided use of a quote that did far more harm than good. No apology was forthcoming. Thanks to the council minority with its social and moral conscience for putting this item on tonight's agenda. I'd appreciate knowing this council does not support a lawless, violent coup. Your position that a national issue isn't your concern is not reassuring. It's extremely concerning. Responsive? No. Efficient? No. Since last August, the Staunton Equity Coalition asked for a single equity officer. The coalition gave a thorough presentation with all the facts and studies needed to show that creating this one position would have a positive and lasting effect on a large segment of Staunton's citizens. They did the homework for you. Your response? None. Efficient? If silence and inaction are efficient, then yes. The creation of an ad hoc committee to fashion a business plan for the golf course was genius. Assigning golfers to create a dream course without limits. Even the reality that the $500,000 irrigation system didn't resuscitate the failure was of no consequence, despite promises that if we build it, they'll come. This is from the business plan for the golf course. Quote, in making their recommendations, committee members relied on their own personal experience at the course tours, consideration of topography, discussion of industry norms, and input from peers. The ad hoc committee triaged the needs of the course, end quote. So no experts, no business analysts, budget analysts, no survey, no golf course owners, only golfers holding a discussion. The ad hoc committee's business plan was their fantasy course. They triaged the course, not the community. The 44 cart coup doesn't meet 3 of the city's capital improvement plan criteria for evaluating capital projects. It isn't justified under 6 of the city's criteria for scheduling capital projects, which I enumerated in an email I sent you all a month ago. But here come the carts to save the city. Without any way to track expenses and revenues of the golf course separate from the larger parks and rec books, the true cost of the golf course will remain obscured, unless that's the point. Please reactivate the enterprise fund so we can see how these carts will help citizens and the city. Today, I saw the Booker T. Washington Center's huge wasted basement that's used for storage. This community has asked for a renovation of this space for use as a community center. This is a large, vibrant community without a center. Its center has been barricaded by a wall of bureaucracy. Can we not rent storage space so that this underutilized building can nurture citizens? Can we please have some responsiveness and efficiency here? The Middle River Regional Jail, no new beds. Renovate it, add humane features such as reliable hot water, mental health and substance abuse treatment, proper food and sanitation, but no new beds. Staunton's incarceration rate is 3 times the national average. Don't increase that proportion by allowing for more warehousing of humans. And now, Lawyer Gate. Stay tuned for that one. I'd love to concede my remaining 30 seconds to another commentator. The mayor created her own procedures for commenting without a vote from the council body. So why can't we? Wouldn't that be responsive? Definitely. This is our time. Efficient? When else can we be certain of your hearing? Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council? All right, hearing none. Mr. Rosenberg.
We have several callers, Madam Mayor.
All right.
Is the caller on the line?
Yes.
Please state your name and address your comments to council.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Kim Miller and I live on Middlebrook Avenue in Staunton. I would like to voice my opposition to the request for Staunton City Council to adopt a resolution about 3 things: the November presidential election results, the incident that occurred at the Capitol building on January 6th, and committing to protect the citizens of Staunton from domestic terror groups operating in Virginia. When I read this memo in the agenda materials, I was quite frankly appalled. The new president has been inaugurated. What else is there to say about it? Why is a resolution by Staunton City Council necessary at this point? Number 2, law enforcement has arrested over 150 people in connection to the incident at the Capitol. If there was any other behavior that was unlawful, law enforcement will take care of it, not the Staunton City Council. Domestic terror groups are also dealt with by law enforcement, including here in Staunton. It is very concerning that in the narrative of this request, the author attempts to make a couple connections between the people who entered the Capitol on January 6th and the citizens protesting lawfully, both here locally and in DC. To paint all the hundreds of thousands of people who went to DC on January 6th by the actions of a relative few is wrong. It's stereotyping and labeling. My guess is that the 30+ domestic terror groups that are mentioned in this memo are the 33 that the Southern Poverty Law Center has identified in the state of Virginia as hate groups. Countering hate with more hate is not productive. This memo and petition is divisive, counterproductive, and a waste of the council's time. On the petition, I hope that you will not count the duplicate signatures and those from outside Staunton, which would reduce the number by about 80. As a citizen of Staunton for over 10 years, I would like to see the council engaged in a few different priorities than rehashing old news and punishing anyone who lawfully protested or supported a certain president. The COVID-19 pandemic has wrought havoc on our citizens and businesses. We need to reopen safely now and find suitable solutions for those who want to wear masks and those who can't or don't. We need to prioritize mental health, the need for human interaction, and the economic impacts on small businesses and people. As a city, I want to know that we are doing all we can to protect children from human trafficking and other harms. We need to combat drug addiction, homelessness, and unemployment. We need to continue to boost our economy by supporting businesses in Staunton and positioning the city for continued business investment. I want to thank the council for your hard work in making Staunton a great place to live for all and for listening tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Yes, my name is Baldwin Jennings, 332 Sharon Lane, Stanton. What my main concern is about the entranceway into Stanton. I can remember back when it used to be a 4x4 stuck in the ground with a license plate on saying Stanton, Virginia. So I got behind and we designed a new city entrance sign. And anyway, it didn't come out exactly the way I wanted, but it's very acceptable. But the problem is they're not landscaped. These entrance signs need to be landscaped. And the reason they need to be landscaped because the more attractive entrance you got to Stanton, the more it says about its character and everything. One down on Richmond Road is absolutely nothing planned around it. I'd like to see some type of greenery, very color type flowers, landscape and make it look presentable. And one other thing, Meade, you gotta be the most hated woman in this town. Thank you.
Baldwin, that is out of order. Mr. Rosenberg, next caller.
Hey, good evening. My name is Dave Copper. I live at 1603 Ridgeway Drive, right up in the hill, near the last sinkhole. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of council. I would like you to vote no on the expansion of the Middle River Jail. With some of the laws changing in the state, we may not need that much room in the near future. Of course, we could go the other way, and that could be as overcrowded as it is now in a very short time. Thank you very much. Vote no. And I don't mean to take umbrage with the last speaker, but I think the issue of 1621 in Washington, D.C. is far from old news. I know the council has voted not to make a collective statement, but to put the minds of the citizens at rest, I think is incumbent upon you as elected officials to do that. How can citizens of this fair city trust the council when they won't tell the truth about what happened? Did you or did you not go? That hasn't been addressed by anyone, except when I was shouted down by, we didn't go. Did you or didn't you? Let me see what I have here. If you didn't go, just say so. If you did, just say so. We need transparency. You need to be as honest with the citizens of the city as you can be. How can we trust you to do, what you need for the city if you don't tell the truth about this? Are you afraid what we would think? Let's see. If you did go, I would ask you to resign as basically untrustworthy and not to be trusted. You're trusted servants of the city. You have to show that trust. Trust us as much as we want to trust you. This is what we need from you. We need transparency. We need honesty. And as I said before I got shouted down, was what were you thinking if you did go? And I would ask again, if you didn't, please say so, because we want to trust our elected officials. And if you don't wish to say whether you were there or not, again, I would ask you to resign. Should I, as a citizen of Staunton, assume because of your collective silence on this issue that you were there? A. B, that you don't support the Constitution of the United States? And C, that you support the outcome of the election? And that needs to be forthcoming, in my opinion. And I thank you for your time and all that you do. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name and address address your comments to council.
Great, thank you. Good evening, members of City Council. My name is Julie Schofield, and I live on Lake Avenue here in Staunton, Virginia. I'm calling in to reiterate some concerns on a couple of issues that are before council or hopefully will be before council. I want to start where David Copper kind of left off. I mean, I am a strong believer that the council should make a statement condemning the actions of January 6th. I think it's really not just a national issue. It is a very much a local issue. I think with white supremacy groups across the state, in our community, you know, if it feels like a kind of hostile environment that gets created here, right here where we live, when we know that we have neighbors and people in our community who were willing to, you know, break into the U.S. Capitol because they believe that we didn't have a duly elected new president. And they are believing all of the misinformation that gets spread madly across the internet. So, you know, I think it's a matter of trust. I mean, I really would like to have our city council issue a statement that they respect and believe in the U.S. Constitution. I want them to acknowledge the results of the elections last November and the duly elected president and vice president. I want to hear that they honestly are seekers of truth and real information and do not follow the beliefs of the former president about the election being stolen. I want to hear that they reject that notion altogether. I want to hear that they're not aligned with QAnon and, you know, the other groups that are out there really spreading hate and misinformation across our country. And so those are, for me, that's a matter of trust in the people who are elected to represent us on city council. And I still very much believe that the city council should make a statement condemning the actions and the insurrection on January 6th. The second issue that I really want to talk about is the Middle River Jail expansion. And I want to reiterate my opposition to the plans to expand the Middle River Jail. I strongly believe that we should not have any expansion, including new beds at the jail. This is really a racial justice issue among many other issues. We know that our justice system is racist. We know there's extreme bias. We know that, you know, there's real disparities as it entails who's actually incarcerated at the jail. For example, 22% of Middle River Jail inmates are Black, while this region, we only have about 6% of our population is Black. That in and of itself tells you that something is not right, that something's not working. I really feel like we need to explore all alternatives to incarceration. We need to very much spend that resource and that money on expanding access to substance use and addiction services and mental health services and family support services. And I know that others have raised this issue, but it seems to me we ought to be supporting the concept of justice reinvestment, and that we really want the community services in place here across our community that are going to help people with the services they need to avoid incarceration and engagement with the justice system. So again, I just want to reiterate my opposition to the expansion of the Middle River Jail, no new beds, and hope you will take that into consideration as going forward. And last but not least, as I've mentioned before, I live close to the golf course. It's a ghost town up there. And when you do see 2 or 4 people rolling around, they're using those carts like crazy, rolling up and down those hills. I don't see any reason to be investing in 40-some new golf carts when the ones that we have seem to be working perfectly fine. So thank you, Council, for hearing me out this evening, and
Your
thank
time
you.
is up.
Bye.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good evening, Mayor Oaks and council members. I would like to speak to my opposition to the Middle River Jail expansion. I am Sheila Amati, College Park, Staunton. I would also like to speak to the previous request for City Council to make a statement concerning the January 6, 2021 insurrection and to affirm Joe Biden as president and Kamala Harris as vice president for the legal confirmation of their elections held in November 2020. I first want to reconfirm the comments I made on February 25th, 2021 regarding my opposition to expand the Middle River Jail complex. I do stand by my comments made on February 25 that is on record. I would also like to add that I have worked with many clients who were released from Middle River Jail with no community transition plan in place upon leaving the jail. They had no assistance for housing other than a referral to the Valley Mission. There was no transition plan for mental health services in any consequential way. They had haphazard referrals to Valley Community Services Board. Valley Community Services Board is a community mental health resource. It does the best with the limited funding they receive to provide mental health services to various segments of our community. They do not have an optimum complement of staff, adequate funding, and stable retention of staff. They do not have an optimum complement of staff, nor the resources to try to provide adequate mental health counseling and support services specific to the needs of those leaving the jail and for regular consumers in the community needing a timely range of mental health intervention services. The clients I work with had no substance abuse treatment services when they were in the jail and none upon leaving Middle River Jail. They did have papers with the fees they owed the court, required anger control classes to enroll in immediately, a schedule for ASAP, which is the Alcohol Safety Action Program classes that they were to enroll and pay on a weekly basis, in addition to child support payments they had to establish, DMV fees to pay to get licenses and car insurance reinstated. They had no transition plan for job acquisition nor transportation to meet these numerous requirements. I remember one client stating in despair, "I'm doomed. How am I going to do all this? I would be better back in jail." Just a portion of the jail expansion money could be used for best practices for jail to community transition plans. These people are ex-Middle River Jail offenders and community members who are being set up for a return to drug and alcohol abuse and a revolving door return to the jail. The inequity of the justice system puts them at the bottom rung to overcome many social, financial, and economic disparities, while those with money to circumvent these barriers pay for their justice and don't deal with the immoral and unfair justice system. On your inability to condemn the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol and your recalcitrance to acknowledge that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were legally voted into office and are our president and vice president is beyond callous. It disavows what you allegedly stand for as council members for all citizens of Staunton. You make a mockery of the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag when you stand to do this at every city council meeting. What we stand for as a civil community and democracy continues to teeter on the brink of another domestic terrorist attack and destabilization of our democracy, which has national and local repercussions. Your silence is deafening, and your lack of action is disgraceful.
Your time
and
is up.
lacks
Thank you.
integrity and
Your
US
time is
citizens.
up. Thank you. Next caller.
Hi, my name is James Mills. I live on 1500 North Coulter Street. And I'd first just like to thank Council for spending a considerable amount of time tonight discussing the COVID-19 virus and current efforts to get vaccinations out to people, and particularly a comment made about getting whatever vaccine is available to you and just getting it done. Really appreciate that. Thank you. But I'm also calling in to reiterate what previous callers have said. I also oppose expansion of the Middle River Regional Jail. It's not the right solution to the problem. The jail is overcrowded because we don't have the community services available to help those people to remain in the community as productive members of our society. The $40 million that's been proposed to be the amount for the expansion, you know, that money going to Valley Community Services Board to hire more case managers, more treatment programs there, to bolster what services they have there. Ms. Amati was correct, you know, and I worked at Valley Community Services Board, and I know that almost every one of the caseworkers there dealing with substance use and mental health, they were overwhelmed. They had too many people in their caseloads, and they couldn't do their job the way that they wanted to and to be effective. So I just don't think it's the correct path to take to fix the problem that we have. I'm also disappointed to hear that the council voted not to make a collective statement condemning the January 6th insurrection at the nation's capital. I think it's important for local government to make a statement on that because of how serious it was and what almost happened that day. You know, our government's on the federal level, the state level, and the local level. And, you know, heaven forbid that we should have an election on the local level in the future where misinformation is spread and something similar should happen. So I think it's important that the council make that statement. And I believe that's all I have to say. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we have more callers in the queue. I want to get some clarification from you. It appears that one of those callers has already spoken. How do you wish to deal with that caller?
Did they speak under a public hearing or?
During matters from the public?
No, they are not allowed to speak a second time.
Okay, so we'll take care of that when we get to that caller, simply by disconnecting them from the line.
Thank you. We need to be fair and move on to others that have not spoken.
Okay.
This is Carolyn Dole. I think it would be important to check and make sure it wasn't a different person using the same phone line, just technically.
We can certainly do that. Do you have the name of the person?
It's not this next caller. It's the caller after that.
Okay, we'll have to ask if they've already spoken. And we'll know. All right, next caller.
Hi, this is Mitch Narduzzi from South Jefferson Street, Staunton. I really just wanted to talk about growing community opposition to the jail expansion tonight, but there always seems to be some gross abuse of power that must be addressed first. So here it goes. It is highly disappointing that 4 professed patriots that make up the majority of our council continue to support Stop the Steal conspiracies through your silence, a silence which emboldens domestic terrorists and insurrectionists, and yet you claim that you stand for liberty and democracy. Your feigned patriotism has not gone unnoticed. And every time you wave the stars and stripes or don the red, white, and blue, may you be reminded of your hypocrisy and what seems to be your true fascist natures. Also, for transparency and accountability, reinstate the Gulf Enterprise Fund immediately. Now, on behalf of the other like-minded community members who oppose the expansion to the Middle River Regional Jail, I would like to say, we stand together against state, county, and city funding being wasted on incarcerating our loved ones and fellow community members who are disproportionately people of color, family members with mental health needs, friends who are battling substance use disorders, and neighbors who are struggling to climb their way out of poverty. No new beds. Together, we demand services, not cells. No new beds. Together, we demand care, not cages. No new beds. And together, we demand more justice, not more jail space. No new beds. We urge local officials to stop warehousing people in our jail, absent a serious risk to the physical safety of our community. Jails have proven to deteriorate mental health, even when they claim to treat it. So we support increasing community-based mental health services, not caging people who are suffering. We demand that funding from Staunton and other municipalities be invested in alternatives to incarceration, invested in life-affirming ways by supporting affordable housing, education, and health care. No new beds. Policymakers, prosecutors, and criminal justice leaders should also take steps to dramatically reduce detention in the jail population. To that end, we believe that criminal justice officials should work with local decision makers in our community to implement and advocate for the following: reducing the overcrowding at Middle River through increased pre-charge and pretrial diversion and the decriminalization of our communities. Adopt cite and release policies for offenses which pose no immediate physical threat to the community, including simple possession of controlled substances. Release all individuals who are being detained solely because they cannot afford cash bail or do not have a local address unless they pose a serious risk to public safety. Demand that the Department of Corrections transfer inmates that are being housed at Middle River simply because the state can save money by keeping them there at the expense of our city's taxpayers, and more disturbingly, at the expense of denying inmates their rights to programs that can only be offered in facilities run by the Department of Corrections. Conduct an exhaustive research process through a coalition of officials, service providers, justice-involved persons, and those who are their advocates and allies to explore comprehensive criminal justice reform and justice reinvestment as alternatives to incarceration before committing any taxpayer dollars to an expansion of the jail. No new beds. Justice reinvestment can help prioritize jail space for those who pose the greatest risk to public safety, while allowing others to be better served within the community, where services and treatment may be more readily available. Justice reinvestment can also help achieve tangible cost savings through expediting the case processing of those awaiting trial or disposition, revising revocation policies, creating more alternatives to jail for unsentenced populations, and preventing repeat residents of the jail from returning by increasing reentry preparation and services before and after their release. Justice reinvestment helps jails to serve as mainstays of justice by addressing broad topics of concern that include the quality of life of our community members incarcerated at Middle River, public accountability for expenditures and proof that taxpayer dollars spent actually warrant acceptable returns on our investment, designation of expected in-jail and post-release outcomes for justice-involved persons, standards for health and mental health care, limits on the use of administrative segregation, and readily accessible data to researchers that can be shared across criminal justice and service provider silos. Justice reinvestment requires that we carefully assess available services to determine if there are
Your
sufficient
time is up.
community-based
Thank you.
programs and
Your time is
services
up.
to meet
Thank
the
you.
needs of our most
Your time
vulnerable
is up.
populations.
Thank you. Please drop the call. Next caller.
Go ahead and take it in order.
Got it. Okay.
Is the caller on the line?
Yeah, I'm already spoken. I'm just listening to what's going on.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We have one more call, I believe, Madam Mayor.
All right, next caller.
Is the caller on the line?
Hang on, sorry. The caller called back, it dropped off. It's this last one.
All right, so we have one more.
Yeah, the other two had already spoken.
Hi, my name is Linda Shalish, and I live on Spring Hill Road. There's several things I would like to speak to you about. The first one is about the resolution that you all voted against 4-3, predictably. To me, that's a terrible thing that you refuse to support that resolution. You know, you are supposed to be setting an example for the rest of Staunton, for the rest of the citizenry here, for your constituents. You need to say that the election was not fraudulent. You need to condemn the big lie. You need to support the president as it is now. And you need to condemn the insurrection. And why you don't do that is beyond me. What have you got to hide? What are you saying? Are you saying that you support the insurrection, or that you don't care enough, you know, to denounce the insurrection, or that you think that, you know, that the president was not elected fairly? Yeah, I don't understand why you don't support that resolution. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the golf cart. Why in the name of anything do we need new golf carts? $200,000 for golf carts during a pandemic. You know, how do you know we even, you know, what kind of money you get out of the golf course? You don't even know where the money, you know, what kind of money you make. You have no separate accounting for the funds that come in there. You know, we used to have an enterprise thing, but now we don't even have that anymore. That was dumped in 2018, 2017, something like that. So, and the other thing is, who the heck even knows there's a golf course here? You know, I went there the other day and I'm like looking for signs. There's like one tiny little sign. So you go up this hill and you look, and there's this dilapidated place, no signs in front of it, like, you know, where you're supposed to even go to rent a golf cart. There were 2 people on the golf course. It's a hilly mess. And you have the rest of the park that's overused, that's crowded, and then you have nobody on this golf course. Why don't you just get rid of the golf course? You know, there were kids playing basketball, there were kids on the skateboard, there were hundreds of people in the park, and 2 people on this golf course. You have 16 members that belong to the golf club, and it's beyond me why you want to preserve it. You're not going to make any money out of it. And the other thing is, what about the Middle River Regional Jail? You don't need to expand the Middle River Regional Jail. You know, the more beds you have, the more you're going to fill it. First of all, it's a racist system. You know, it's wrong to expand the jail. What are you expanding? If you look at it, you know, through a historical or any kind of a critical lens, you'll see that expansion really is the same thing as perpetuating a system that's really a racist system. who goes to the jail? Who do you have in the jail? The prison system is a systemic, it's self-perpetuating, self-sustaining system of oppression, and it has to be made into, you have to do something different with how you're going to deal with people that are in jail. There are better ways. There are more just ways to pursue justice. You could have justice, reinvestment, and restorative justice. You don't have to expand a bad system. You don't put good money after the bad. You should vote no on the Middle River Regional Jail. And so I think those three things I wanted to talk about. Inspired golf cart. You need to support your Black community, not just your white community. That golf course is used by, who uses that golf course? And it's just not right that you have a golf course that nobody uses, and you have a prison system that that's racist, and you refuse to condemn an insurrection that was run by white nationalists. So, in my mind, when you do all those three things, all I'm thinking is that I have a bunch of white supremacists on the city council.
You are out of order. You are out of order.
Well, I'm glad. And you've been out of order yourself.
Your time is up. Thank you. Next caller.
Is the caller on the line?
Yes.
Please state your name and address your comments to council.
My name is Barbara Lee. My address is 904 Rockaway Street, Staunton, Virginia. And what I want to tell the council tonight is I am not going to require you to say anything about the November election or the January 6th event in D.C. And the reason I'm saying this is because it just tells us just who you all are. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
There are no further callers.
All right. With that, the matters from the public is now closed. Once again, I would like to thank Andrea McRoberts, our interim city attorney, for helping the city of Staunton out during our time of need. With that, the meeting is now closed.